TikTok is more addictive than the Colonel's secret recipe, and its users aren't too keen on putting the needle down in the form of a government ban. TikTok is bad. There's no doubt youngins spend way too much time on it. They get all sorts of horrible information, including cleverly shrouded propaganda, and the company is being as transparent as a thick lead apron. Having said that, a ban wouldn't necessarily make TikTok go away, but it could be a sneaky Trojan horse for the federal government to continue its encroachment and overreach. In the name of doing good, lawmakers are excellent at doing harm, unable to fight the obsessive compulsion to amass more power and control. President Trump tried a unilateral TikTok ban that was swatted down in the judiciary. Now the House and Senate have their own acronym bills, the Data Act and the Restrict Act, that will probably merge and pass for our doddering president who's eager to sign. Both houses and both parties know there is something wrong here, but they're not wise enough to fix a corrupt system that allows for the government to warrantlessly spy on Americans, all while secretly collecting data on God only knows what. Not to mention the other unchecked apps who arguably do just as much harm to kids. As much as it pains me to agree with AOC and the other progressive blowhards who should be far better on privacy measures across the board, well, they have no problem here spewing ByteDance's lobbyist talking points. AOC and the other nitwits are correct that a ban is short-sighted and the government picking winners and losers is always a losing proposition for the rest of us. But they're calling the ban racist. That is a simple and lazy communist-funded argument. We as parents need to be honest with our children about the risks with TikTok, and we have to tell our kids the truth. TikTok gives you acne and BO, and it makes boobies and wieners shrivel over time. Sometimes we have to take matters into our own hands when the government has failed us utterly. And never forget, parental propaganda is very much protected speech. TikTok may be the worst among them, but even with the ban, hungry young minds will couple with bad ideas, and dipsticks all over the country will still blind themselves with lip balm and choke on Tide Pods. There is no law against stupid, and if it's American digital stupidity you're after, don't trust the government to make the right choices monitoring your content. And that's the memo. Oh, hi, I'm going to walk. The bipartisan outrage is boiling over. Lawmakers are calling for open season against TikTok, and the House will be moving forward with legislation on a potential ban, this according to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. So who's right, KMC or AOC? Oh, God, I thought I was going to toss a really clever thing there, but it's just me going blah, blah, blah. Let's break it down with tonight's party panel. We've got radio host. He hosts the Jason Rantz Show. Coincidentally, he is named Jason Rantz, and he is here. We've got Reason Magazine, editor-in-chief, also the EIC of Reason.com, star of the Reason Roundtable, Catherine Mangu-Ward, is back, and president of the Stagwell Group and former advisor to the Clintons, all of them. Mark Penn is back as well. Wonderful to see you. Jason, I know you disagree with me. I'm sorry, but I don't trust Congress to come up with an appropriate ban here.
Yeah, look, I say this as I'm deeply uncomfortable with bans. There's no doubt about it. But I do think because of the relationship between this company and China, and specifically the Chinese Communist government, they are their enemy. They are an enemy of the United States. And I don't recall a whole lot of folks who were complaining about RT News effectively being banned in this country for pretty much the same reasons that they were pushing out propaganda. Now, you are correct. Propaganda is protected speech. If you're doing it on an American company, right, this is a company that is clearly posing some kind of threat, we're told. I will tell you this, though. I do think the onus is on Congress, as much as they can, to actually put forward the case proving that there is the sharing of data. If they don't do that, I'm a little less comfortable being discomforted going towards the ban. I do think that they have to put up some evidence to show that connection and the data that's being shared.
It's very interesting because, you know, when Twitter is in cahoots with the federal government and different federal agencies, Catherine Mangu-Ward, conservatives are like, protect free speech. Why is it a different tune here?
Right. I mean, I think this is absolutely right. A lot of the concerns that we are hearing about TikTok are hypotheticals, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying it's not happening, but as we just said, the onus is on the government to show that there's a real national security concern here, especially if they're going to ban an app that millions of people use, grown adults who can mind their own business and do not need Congress to monitor their behavior online, particularly under the guise of protecting the children. I would trust the federal government with my data much less than I would trust TikTok with my data at this point, because I know for sure that they've screwed that up a bunch of times.
But I wish there was as much outrage over government spying as there is over what's going on with TikTok. None of it is good, but the federal government can take your things by force. And that's a problem that I have. It has been problematic for so long. Congress has had every opportunity to have more safeguards in place, and they abdicate that opportunity every chance they get. So, Mark, if you were president of the universe or the United States, what would you do here? What would you like to see?
Well, I'd be concerned about the data. Remember that the postings on TikTok are from 150 million Americans. So if you close TikTok, you really are taking away their free speech. And so it's critically important that their free speech not be interrupted because we have a concern about the data. We should focus on the concern about the data. Although, look, China's doubling their military force, and we're concerned whether China knows that some people like cooking videos. Come on, let's be serious. This is way overblown compared to the real threats that China has, taking our property and doubling the military and threatening Taiwan. This is a diversion, an easy diversion.
Well, if China is our enemy, if we ban TikTok, does that make them less so, Jason?
It cuts down or at least mitigates some of the risk of them interfering with elections and getting certain information that is beneficial to the Chinese government in front of 150 million Americans. To your point, we should have been way more upset about our own government spying. But if we found out that TikTok was sharing information directly with the FBI, you would also be upset. We would be having that conversation. So take that anger, but also put it towards the fact that we're potentially seeing this information shared with our enemy, our biggest enemy. And I think that's where our vulnerability is from a national security standpoint.
See, I'm worried that you ban TikTok. It's a feel-good exercise, and it's not really going to do things in the long run in terms of intellectual property theft and some of the other threats that China may pose to this country. And you do something like that, you feel good for a little while, you take your eye off the ball. All the other apps that are giving kids like really bad ideas and really bad information, they are blossoming. You haven't done anything to change the system. Well, speaking